get through this.
Easy for listening. I was able to do it.
Easy for dancing.
I'm not a great lover of cats. That's my fear.
You're a disgrace, you are.
Not me. That's my fear.
You're a disgrace, you are.
Hello and welcome to One-on-One Shadowboxing. Today my fellow shadowboxer is Gabriel Harfouche, who is popped up as a pup, member of the Palmer United Party.
Yes, that's correct.
Which area you are selected for election?
Tibor, I've been endorsed as the candidate for the Palmer United Party for the division of Perth.
So you are going for the city of Perth?
Yeah, it's the division of Perth includes the city and some of the outlying suburbs, including Highgate, Bayswater, Morley, Dianella, out to Beachborough, Lockridge.
That's a big area.
78 square kilometres.
So why the Palmer United Party?
Well, that's a good question. After I finished teaching, I felt that I needed personally a change, and with that change, something that was more of a challenge for me and where I was at. And I went back and studied law, and through my connections and fellow students in the undergraduate law course, I got talking about political matters and new initiatives and where Parliament was at, particularly over the last 5 years. And through associates in the law degree, it came to being that I was introduced to the new party, the Palmer United Party, and expressed an interest in being part of that vision, that new platform.
Is it a party vision or is it a vision of an individual?
Yeah, well, it's the the title of the party is the Palmer United Party, and we have 5 key issues that we have canvassed and shared with the community of Australia, particularly for me in the division of Perth. And those 5 key issues certainly resonated with me, and that is what really triggered my desire to support the party and be involved in the party.
So still no answer for the question. You are starting acting like a good politician. Whose vision is that?
Well, the vision is the party vision,
Yes.
and it's a collaborative vision.
How many members the party got?
Well, the party, as you know, is a fledgling party, and it's growing in perspective, it's growing in membership, and certainly there are many thousands of people that are registering to be interested, and the website's getting copious hits on it, and it's generating a lot of interest and involvement. And really that's where I'm coming from as well, getting back to the grassroots and listening to the people of Perth and sharing with them the things that matter, things about prosperity and security and local issues that matter to the people of Perth.
So what is, you say 5 issues the party represents, so what's the priority issue for the Palmer Party?
The first issue that we have shared with the people of Australia is that the party, and I'm sure a lot of people would see eye to eye with this view, is that lobbyists should not hold official positions in the party itself. We've seen over time the influence of lobbyists in Parliament, and we believe that the erosion of our democracy is as a result of the impact of special interest groups who hold a lot of sway in Parliament with the major parties. And we believe that to ameliorate that conflict of interest, it's best practice that a political party distances itself from lobbyists. So we do not believe in having anyone in our party hold a lobbyist position or be involved with lobbyists.
Why the lobbyists are dangerous?
Well, a lobbyist is dealing with a personal interest, not with the interests of the people, the Australian people, and the national interest. And that's why it's important that as a political party, that conflict of interest does not arise. And the one way that you can ensure that it doesn't arise is to ensure that nobody in the party is involved with lobbyists or holds a position as a lobbyist.
So minimize corruption.
Completely. I mean, as a parliament, the erosion of standards and vision is because of the impact, to some degree, of lobbyists.
Okay, second important issue.
Yes, the second important issue is that the party is of the view that our natural resources, this beautiful nation's wealth of resources, iron ore, silver, and so forth, it belongs to the nation, and therefore any use of those natural resources should be processed within Australia. If you look at the price, for example, Tibor, of iron ore, I think the lowest it's been is $20 a tonne. Yet we ship it to other nations, our neighbours in other nations, and they then manufacture it and on-sell it for tens of thousands of dollars in its finished product. Now, we're of the view that if our nation is to continue to prosper, that it's in the national interest that we manufacture those precious resources in locales that need stimulus in jobs and an economic stimulus. So one of the party policies is that those natural resources are developed within Australia for the benefit... Processed.
Not just mined in here.
Not just mined, but processed and manufactured within our beautiful country, within the nation.
How the party can see how does it can be done, because manufacturing in Australia has almost disappeared completely.
Yes.
So how this can be reversed? What's the vision of the party?
Well, at this stage, in the infancy of our key policy areas, we are sharing with the community this desire to ensure economic strength and stability and prosperity for us, the Australian people, through that vision, precisely that, to put forward in Parliament a process where we can ensure that the downstream manufacturing occurs in our country, in places that need it.
Systematically,
yes,
the two other political parties who got the power in the past 40 years,
correct,
destroyed Australian manufacturing. How can that be reversed?
Well, if I can speak to Mr. Palmer himself, who better to have in this position to stimulate the economy than someone of his calibre and inspiration, Tibor? Mr. Palmer, Clive Palmer, is a man who has gone into companies through his knowledge, skills, power and tenacity, and turned them around from struggling companies to successful companies. And we're talking about million-dollar companies, multi-million-dollar companies that have turned their economic situation around. He is in the best place to use his knowledge and skills and wisdom to influence parliamentary debate and the formation of legislation that's conducive to empowering the nation through manufacturing downstream of those resources. At this stage, the detail will unfold as the campaign continues, but from my point of view and from the rest of the candidates I've spoken to, Mr. Palmer is certainly the inspiration that we need. As you've said, Tibor, the duopoly that currently exists of Labor and Liberal has served us well in the past, but we are now in the 21st century, and the forefathers of our Constitution envisaged that all people from all walks of life can represent their communities in federal parliament. And it's time to be faithful to the Constitution and to give people at the local level a chance and a voice. And I'm one of those people. And Mr. Palmer, through the creation of the party, is giving a chance to be the foundation where an earthquake has occurred and torn apart, in a sense, metaphorically, the stability and the uniformity and the opportunity of Parliament at the federal level to support our economy and industry and manufacturing and the prosperity of the Australian people.
That all sounds really good. I almost fall for it. But where the money is coming from?
Well, again, these are issues that Mr. Palmer and the party will debate over the coming months, and greater detail will be unravelled and unfolded and shared with the people. But at this stage, our concerns are to ensure that the best interests of the Australian people are put forward. In terms of where the monetary base will come from, the party will release that sort of information in time. But certainly the global economy is problematic at the moment. But we believe that the strength of our people and the knowledge that the Australian people have and the resources that we have at our disposal will hold us in good stead going forward. And it's a bright and positive future. But while the current duopoly exists, you know, it's a hurdle at the moment, and we know what has transpired with the duopoly in place over the last 4 or 5 years. And
but economically, we got enormous debt now.
Yes.
So paying back the debt and raising money for manufacturing, it's a big challenge.
It is a big challenge.
So you think the Palmer party is up to that challenge?
I'm of the view, and my fellow candidates and the people that I have met along the way in the infancy of this campaign, we are of the view that the people that we've chosen to represent the communities of Australia can work together as a think tank, and with the skills and knowledge of Mr. Palmer, we'll be able to map out a more prosperous economic and budgetary future for the country. And those two major key areas that I've spoken to you about today, with the impact of lobbyists in Parliament and the erosion of parliamentary efficacy as a result of the impact of lobbyists, and the idea of sharing the natural resources downstream with the Australian people are certainly in the best interests of the Australian people. And at this stage, they are key policy areas that we're talking about.
On that note, we have to go to a short break, but please stay with us, because after the break we're coming back with more discussion with Gabriel.